Hello, and thank you so much for joining our session on data-driven engagement. Today, we are going to be discussing quick wins for peak season and looking at both evergreen and post-COVID approaches to personalization. My name is Ashley Lockridge, and I'm a principal marketing consultant here at Cheetah Digital, and my role is all about taking a look at the data across clients, understanding what really works and what really doesn't. The key takeaways from today's session are going to focus on three things. Number one, recognizing behavioral shifts, integrating loyalty with your promotions so that you can get the most value out of your campaigns, and also focusing in on the biggest revenue drivers. So oftentimes we get caught up in doing things like subject line testing and kind of movements of small CTAs or imagery during our campaigns during the holidays. And that takes up a lot of resources, time, and energy. So I'm going to share with you some of what I've seen across my clients that is sure to drive revenue and keep us from spinning our wheels. Let's just dive right in with behavioral shifts. So during COVID, our team actually tracked the behavior of 28 different retailers from the very beginning of the pandemic all the way through September. This particular slide focuses in kind of on that summertime timeframe. And what we were taking a look at was both open behavior and click-through rates, as well as engagement rates from a click to open perspective. And as you can see, as the summer was really setting in, we were seeing this trend of really high open rates. We also saw high click-through rates, but that started to dwindle, as did all of the engagement over the remainder of the summertime. So, that tended to be from a couple of things. At the beginning of the pandemic, there was a huge surge in boredom. So Think with Google actually produced a study where they said that they had a 100% increase in the term boredom since last year due to COVID. People, therefore, are doing a lot more window shopping. At first, especially during the start of the pandemic, they thought that they were going to only have a couple of weeks of downtime and then really get back to work. And so we saw that really big peak of boredom and clicking and opening emails, where it did start to dwindle as time went on. The other thing that I found very interesting with Think with Google is that there was a 60% increase in the term can't sleep since last year, something that many of us have battled, right? So when we take a look at these shifts in behavior and the shifts of the way people are thinking and interacting in their everyday lives, we're seeing this kind of come to fruition in our own data as well. So I'm going to focus in on one example from a client of mine where they did an excellent job of understanding the when people were shopping, who was shopping, and how they were shopping, and how that all changed pretty dramatically during COVID. So number one, they capitalized on the fact that they knew people were opening much, much later during the day. We did a lot of testing to better understand if we really should pull back on volume, like every retailer did pretty much at the beginning of COVID, or if we could really start pushing the envelope and reaching out to people more and more frequently or at different times of the day. As you can see here, they really took that time shift to heart, and they sent out their Midnight Madness campaigns where they were really focused in on having that peak of the campaign go out in the wee hours of the morning and have a very short time frame to capitalize on that offer. Number two, they were focused on the who. So we wanted to understand how people were purchasing. At the beginning of the pandemic, what we kind of came into this thinking was that we should not be focused in on clearance because we wanted to make sure that margins were at their highest. So we were really looking at everyday promotions and really staying away from that deep discount. And what was really interesting was when, again, we started to test into this clearance segment and test into the idea of pushing clearance into a wider audience, we were recognizing that there was a shift where people were purchasing clearance and adding in other basket items as well. So the margins were staying high, even though we were kind of using that initial hook of clearance to pull them in. The other really compelling thing that we recognize with the data is that before the pandemic, this particular customer was very much focused on high-end customers that were purchasing custom suits and custom apparel. That was their bread and butter. That was that top-tier customer that they really wanted to go after. At the end of this season, what we recognized was a dramatic push over to the majority of what we would call best customers and more frequent customers, really falling into a totally different demographic. We noticed that they were actually deal seekers, which was something that we had never experienced before. They were much younger than the original audience. They had way lower income than the original audience that we had traditionally marketed to for years and years. So I very much highly suggest that you take a look at that demographic data that you have on file, overlay that with your customers, or use Cheetah experiences to gain additional insights in that first party data from your customers to better understand if we are marketing to the same group of people that we were pre-COVID. And the other thing that I wanted to mention here is the how. So again, when you are approaching the when and the who, don't forget to think about the how. So again, if you're taking a look at, let's say, clearance customers, don't necessarily just dive right in with that data and start going guns blazing into clearance sales across the board. Make sure that you're paying attention and kind of testing your way into understanding if clearance would be the best thing for all customers or a specific subset of customers that have browsed or purchased clearance in the past. That's going to be key to your success, and we should definitely test into this now before that peak hits. So take that away and start running with that right now with that testing strategy. I also want to show one other example of the when. So when we think about using data points, we often think about honing in on really segmented personalization. And I'm here to say that data doesn't have to just influence that nitty-gritty personalization that we're all used to. It can influence overall shifts in your marketing plan that should really be resonating across the board with your messaging as well. I received this particular email in my inbox. They are not a client of mine, but I thought it was so great because it's clear that they analyzed the behavior of their customers and found out that during the COVID timeframe or in the last several months, they are receiving orders past 8 p.m. Probably people like me who forget to meal plan and start to panic at the end of the night and order Postmates. But as you can see, there are deeper discounts offered earlier and earlier as the day goes on, 20% off before 6 p.m. and it starts to go down. So this is just a phenomenal example of saying we're going to market across the board to try to influence behavior shifts based on what we're seeing, similar to what Uber does with their peak pricing as well. Now, Cheetah Digital ran a study of our customers and clients and employees as well to better understand how customers are going to be spending this year during the holiday season. And, this isn't too surprising, but it's really unfortunate. 56% of our customers plan to spend less money this holiday. So what does that mean for us? It means that we need to start really nitpicking our data across the board to understand who our best customers are. So this slide is all about the who. When we do uncover who our best customers are, we need to find out what they are buying. So again, pre-COVID, it may be something completely different than post-COVID. In this situation, City Advantage, they're actually a client of mine as well. They are trying to figure out who their current credit card members are and expand out to offer a savings program. I myself almost completely stopped using my credit card because I knew that I wasn't going to be trying to earn miles to travel during a pandemic. So this is a great example of a client that is trying to push the envelope and say, I still want to make sure my best customers feel high value and high touch. And I'm going to offer them something different in the portfolio to really meet those needs. I would want to say that if you are a City Advantage customer, definitely check out this particular email because it was phenomenal. Not only did it use my first name personalization and highlight the products that I had already taken advantage of, pardon the pun, but it also led me to a personalized video that actually stated my name in the audio. And it was filled with wonderful imagery and lots of aspirational value. And it just felt very rich. So, make sure that we're taking a look and again, addressing the who and the how customers are engaging with your products. Now, integrating loyalty with promotions. This is something that I have seen such extreme value in over the last several years that is a very quick and easy way for you to implement during the peak season for yourself. So I have a number of clients that will actually have loyalty programs where they just send out monthly statements or reward notifications or your reward is expiring, but they're almost always separate and apart from general promotions and bulk campaigns. And really, that's a huge miss. Because if you think about it, this is one of the primary ways that we can really personalize those bulk campaigns and remind people that they have money to spend on the products that you're putting into your promotions. So we did a case study relatively recently, and we've done this on many other clients as well, to better understand that value. Not only do we highly encourage our clients to use certificate information and content, but we also want our customers to use it in subject lines. So things like redeem your reward plus the promotion, or here's a private sale plus your reward, or it's the final days to use your reward plus the promotion. So when we took a look at a couple of clients and specifically honed in on the value of certificate in the subject line and the content versus no presence of rewards at all, we saw that when that certificate was included, the transactions per visit increased 370%. Revenue per email was up in huge amounts. Open rates and visit rates were both up in extreme measures as well. So this is just a great way to quickly and easily use that loyalty content that you have to make a big difference in your promotional strategy. Now on the flip side, sometimes we forget that data is going to be the key to us changing the way that we're marketing to people on an everyday basis. So as an example, we know that during COVID, there were tons of inventory challenges with many of our customers, and there still continue to be, quite frankly. And we don't really know what's to come in Q4 as we're diving into the holiday season, and sometimes supply chains still may get, wonky with what's going on in the world with the pandemic. So we need to preemptively make sure that we're asking customers how their experiences are and ensuring that we are trying to nip any problems in the bud as they come along, because Forrester blatantly states that customers who believe that their business problem was solved quickly are 7 times more likely to stay with the business and 8 times more likely to spend more with the business. Over to the right, we see how a simple interaction with me and an agent when I was trying to refinance, they sent me out an SMS message immediately after I hung up the phone with an agent to say, how satisfied were you with your recent experience? On a scale of 1, very dissatisfied, to 5, very satisfied. The reason this is so imperative right now is because if we can gain that data immediately after an interaction, immediately after you've told someone that there's an out-of-stock item, immediately after there's been a shipping delay, then you also have the ability to understand if you should pause promotions, if you should reach out with a specific triggered campaign that says you're sorry and recommends other products that they might like, immediately allows them to connect with a customer service representative. There's a myriad of things that we can do to better enhance that customer experience by the data that we are actively seeking from them. Now, let's focus on the big revenue drivers for peak season. I first want to take a look at that 80-20 rule and kind of flip it on its head. We know that so many of our customers are focused in on that best customer strategy because they're driving 80% of the revenue. But what we don't want to forget about is that other 80% because they're driving a chunk of your revenue as well. So I want to talk about measured list expansion for peak season. So in this particular situation that I'm highlighting in this case study, we had a retail client who, like many of us, did a great job of limiting their list for deliverability purposes to only reaching people who had opened or clicked in the last 12 months. The problem with that is, during peak season, you're missing out on previous holiday shoppers, previous holiday browsers, people who may have purchased actually 1 to 2 years past that we're simply missing now because we have stopped communication with them. And for good reason. We want to make sure that our inbox placement is impeccable. Now, when we discussed expanding the reach to 13 to 24 month openers to reach those holiday shoppers and browsers of past years, we were all a little bit nervous. But we were able to pull in our deliverability team and make sure that we were taking a look at the most recently engaged and peppering them into our programs very slowly but surely, monitoring deliverability. And when that went well, we started expanding the reach further and further and further, so that ultimately we were able to truly expand to that 24-month time frame without hitting any spam traps or deliverability issues. So that is absolutely key. Do not just open up your list and immediately start sending, because although those data points of holiday shoppers in the past are very enticing, we have to do it in a strategic way. Now, what this resulted in was an 11.4% click reactivation rate compared to an industry average of 2%. That's huge on so many levels. Not only are you gaining customers out of those clicks, but you're also gaining people that you can start marketing to more frequently in email. So even if they don't convert during the holiday season, you have much higher likelihood of converting them because they showed interest and engagement in your email program. Okay, now let's go back to the 20%, those best customers. We know that if you can get a repeat purchase, you're more likely to get another repeat purchase in the future, right? The challenge with many of our clients is they talk about how they want to reach more customers, and acquisition is absolutely key. But sometimes we just need to focus in on the post-purchase behavior of our customers. So reviewing the timing of when that next purchase happens and how likely it is to happen in that time frame. So I call that the golden window. So who is repurchasing? What are they purchasing based on their initial purchase? And when should we really be sending this? For many of my retailers, what we found is that if you can remarket to someone, they are more likely to purchase in the next 30 days after their initial purchase than they are in any other time frame. So it's almost that reverse mentality of buyer's remorse. They have their product, they're very satisfied. They didn't actually purchase some other things that they saw on the site, so they're actually interested in coming back and purchasing more. When we tested this out with simply saying thank you and sending out a very kind of almost, just HTML focused instead of order confirmation focused, high rich imagery to say thank you so much, come back and see our new arrivals, we saw 173% increase in open rate, 6% increase in click, and 200% increase in transaction rate over just a promotional campaign that didn't recognize that purchase. Now, when we added cross-sell, so actually recommending additional products that they might like based on their last purchase, we saw even bigger transactional increases. So this is something that you really want to make sure that you have in place during your peak season, regardless of what industry you're in, because this is going to really drive a lot of that post-purchase revenue and that loyalty from customers that have already come in the door and shown you that they want your product. Now, this can be executed in a variety of ways. So this is just a smattering to show you that it doesn't have to be a discount. It can be if someone's purchased a really high value, high quality product, show them how they can take care of it. Show them that they can get a discount if they come back within a certain time frame after their initial purchase. Think about multi-channel too. Can we drive them in store if your stores are open? Or if they purchased in store, can you drive them to be an online customer by giving an online only special deal for them? Because we know multi-channel purchasers are much higher value. Can you show them tips or tricks how to use products so that they're more likely to come back? Or can you just simply say thank you and give them recommendations? These all can be tested, but are all fantastic strategies. Okay. We've talked about a lot today, so I just want to quickly recap the quick wins. Number one, make sure you are analyzing your database, the when, the who, and the how of purchases. One thing that we didn't get to touch on was the fact that we can do a lot of this actually within the EDP of Cheetah Digital, giving you the tools to actually model out behaviors and understand when people are opening through send time optimization. Through our citizen data science offering and feature, we can actually model out things like transactional behaviors as well and get really specific into that machine learning that's going to give us that really high value from your customers and understanding how to analyze them. Number two, we want to make sure that we're using purchase data to drive both visibility of your loyalty program and certificates and rewards, and also using that purchase data to remarket wisely with your post-purchase campaigns. And then number three, make sure you're continuing to create the highest level of value and service. So reach out to your customers to acquire those new data points that you can really use to drive to kind of push the needle on your campaigns, ensure that you're addressing customer service questions and nipping those issues in the bud, and ensuring that we are really driving that value and loyalty for your customers at every touch point. With that, I'm going to say thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of Signals and enjoy the rest of your peak season.